Okay, great. So today we have Dapo Adesiyun, who is going to be talking to us about his work as a landscape architect and majorly focusing on designing for community shared spaces in residential developments and talking about the new Lagos New Towns development. I'm going to hand over very quickly to Dapo to start. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be the second speaker in this webinar series that I hope is going to continue for long after we have presented. So let me share my screen. Please, can everyone confirm that they can see screen?
Yes,
Yes, I
Yes,
can
I
see.
can. Yes, I can.
All right, so this series is this particular uh, topic for today. The topic for today is designing for communities, shared spaces in residential developments, and insight from Lagos Newtown. So, uh, just to go into it, our agenda for today is I'll give a brief introduction. Well, not really brief. I'll give an introduction on what shared spaces are and how they are important in the development of estates and residential communities. I'll talk about Lagos Newtown, and then I'll talk about the key principles of designing shared spaces, our role as architects, landscape architects, the economic and social value of shared spaces, and I'll end with a summary. So, just a quick quote. I know a few of us might know Francis Kire, but it's important to note that landscape architecture and architecture work together. So this is just a nice little quote from him regarding the role that we as architects and landscape architects play in environments. So designing open shared spaces for communities is about creating spaces that go beyond functionality. It involves fostering environments where individuals feel a sense of belonging, connection, and facilitating shared experiences that enrich communal lives. So, at the heart of community-centered design lies an understanding of the unique identities, values, and needs of the people who will inhabit these spaces. So, it's important to note that shared spaces, there are two concepts for shared spaces. When I talk about shared spaces here, I'm talking about shared open spaces because there are shared spaces in buildings. There's a concept of shared spaces where there's a little boundary definition between road and green spaces. Well, what I'm talking about today's topic is more in line with open shared spaces, which could be parks, plazas, gardens, pedestrian pathways, bike paths. All of these are shared spaces within the environment, and altogether they serve as a cohesive unit for establishing resilient communities. So I'll talk about shared spaces. So shared spaces in residential developments, like I said earlier, refer to communal areas which are designed, communal areas within a residential community. And they aim to enhance social connectivity, community well-being, and collective responsibility. So according to the UN, shared spaces are crucial for creating inclusive and resilient urban environments. They emphasize the importance of social cohesion and community participation in the development and maintenance of these spaces. Yeah. The UNDP recognizes that well-designed spaces can lead to enhanced quality of life, improved health outcomes, and increased civic engagement. So from the perspective of us landscape architects, we designed shared spaces to integrate natural elements with the built environment, to create multifunctional areas that encourage social interaction and community engagement. You may have noticed that I talk about community engagement and interaction a lot because all of us know that if we stay in our houses and all of that, we stay in our buildings, in our office spaces, our interactions are limited to the people around us. And many times we know the people around us. But within shared spaces, you get to experience one, nature, you get to interact with the different people, you get to relax, you get to, especially if those spaces are very well designed. So we focus on designing these spaces to be aesthetically pleasing, to be environmentally sustainable, and to be adaptable to various community needs, depending on the kind of community you find yourself in. And a lot of the factors that we take into consideration in designing these spaces are accessibility, safety, and the incorporation of green infrastructure. So I'm tying it to SDG 11. A lot of us are familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals. And SDG 11
Hi, Dapo, are you there? Can you hear me? We can't hear you anymore. Just a minute while
I think he's not. I think we lost
yes,
him. Maybe
yes.
his
So just a
network.
minute while we try to get him back.
Hello?
Great, you're back. Thank you. Okay, so yes.
Sorry, don't tell me I've been gone for a long time.
Yes, you have. Just a minute or so. So yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So please, can somebody remind me where I stopped, please? Or where I last or
Yes,
where
you're
you lost.
talking about the SDG goals.
Oh, okay. So let me just start it again. Because I'm on full screen here, I didn't realize that I had lost you guys. So can you guys still see my screen?
No, we can't. So you have to share it again.
All right.
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So I should have noticed that you guys are not here. All right. So I'll just start again from SDG 11. So I said that I've tied the need for shared spaces within communities to SDG 11, which talks about the fact that shared spaces contribute to the goals of SDG 11, which aims to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, and resilient and sustainable. So specifically, target 11.7 calls for ensuring access for all to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces, particularly for women and children, older people, and people with disabilities. So by creating shared spaces in residential developments, communities can enhance urban livability, promote environmental sustainability, and encourage social interaction. And all of these align with the broader goals of SDG 11. So So why shared spaces matter? So one, the benefits of to us as human beings and individuals is that it promotes physical activity. So a lot of shared spaces include parks, walking paths, recreational areas that encourage residents, especially the young, to engage in physical activities, running, jogging, cycling, playing sports. And as we all know that regular physical activity has numerous health benefits. So mental well-being, access to green spaces, open spaces, shared spaces, uh, significantly improves our moods. Uh, I'm sure a lot of us may have heard that the color green alone, and that's the green of natural green alone, in some studies has been shown to improve our mental state, so from anxious to a more relaxed state. Anyway, so it's important to note that exposure to nature, right, enhances moods and improves cognitive functions. It's important to take in this era of mental health. It's important to note that open spaces have this as an added advantage. So again, promoting healthy lifestyles. All I have mentioned is just to align with the fact that once you're physically active, once your mental state is great, you will have less physical and mental problems. And at the end of the day, you live longer and better lives. So facilitating social interactions. So open spaces create opportunities for connection. These spaces act as hubs where residents can meet, interact, and interesting or build relationships, lasting or short. So whether through organized community events, informal gatherings, or just casual encounters, these spaces foster connection. So a well-designed and thought-out shared space can accommodate people from different backgrounds without prejudice. Uh, and at the end of the day, it, all of that connection leads to better community development and communal bonds. So yeah, strengthening community engagement as well is part of it. And then for certain types of shared spaces, they reflect the cultural heritage of the space or the place. It depends on what was set out. Like, for example, if you use the National Theatre it's a symbol of Lagos, but it's also a national symbol for Nigeria as a whole. And it just adds to the cultural fabric of both the city and the nation. So, building a sense of pride, any shared space that is designed, organized, uh, the better kept it is, the more people are interested in being a part of it. There's also a sense of pride in the development of such shared spaces. So now moving on to Lagos Newtown. Lagos Newtown is located in Blackwell. I work for the company that manages and is the key developer in the Lagos Newtown. There are other developers, sort of sub-developers who do a number of developments here. But we, Mixter Africa, owns the bulk of the land bank, as we call it. And we have a number of estates that we have developed and are developing. So we've got Lakwe Lakes Golf and Country Estate, the Beechwood Park Estate, Adiva Plain Fields, Town, Townsville Estate, and a couple of other estates within the land bank. So, like I said, it's located in Lakwe. For those of us who are not familiar with where Lakwe is about 42 kilometers away from the city center, which is Lagos Metropolis. And it's very close to Ekpe and the recently opened Dangote refineries. So I'm going to talk about our key estates, sort of the flagship estate in Lakwe, and it's the Lakwe Lakes and Golf and Country Estates. And it's about 308 hectares large, and it has close to 1,000 plots and homes. I can't give the exact figure because it's ever increasing. So it has an 18-hole championship golf course, which is the central green corridor for the entire development. So everything within the estate, and when I say everything is connected to the golf course, the plots, the residents, the built parts of the estate. Every single thing is connected to the overall golf course. And the golf course itself serves as a green corridor. So there's a lot of maintenance that goes into ensuring that nature is preserved. There's a lot of conservation efforts. And one of the great things about this estate is that it can't flood. I say that, not that it can't flood, I mean, anything is possible, but because it's designed with 14 lakes, all of which act as stormwater catchments, it's very, very unlikely for it to ever flood the way other parts of Lekki floods. And this was intentional. A lot of those lakes were designed so that every single rainstorm or stormwater is collected there. So during the rainy season, they increase in height and subside during the dry season by as much as 500 mm. In some places, a little more than that. So the thing about the Lakwe Golf Estate is that it was intentionally designed with sustainability at the center of it. So it has a lot of green space.
Sorry guys, I think we've lost Dapo again. I mean, that's the problem with our country generally. But yeah, so just give us just a minute while we try to get him back. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I guess the network here is a bit bad. So.
Yeah, so please, you can reshare your screen. Yeah, great.
Okay. So I'm sure everyone lost me when I was describing or can you just tell me where you lost me again?
Yeah, just when you're talking about the lakes generally.
Oh, okay. Well, that means I've been gone again. So as I was saying, the lakes serve as stormwater catchments. So all 14 of them are interconnected. So no matter how much rainwater comes into them, they manage the amount of stormwater across each of the 14 lakes. So there are pipes that connect each and every single one of them underneath each of the developments. So no matter how much rainfall happens, the lakes sort of maintain the equilibrium there. And there's a lot of wildlife. There are a lot of open lawns, over 2,000 square meters. Some of them are over 2,000 square meters. That's bigger than 2, 3 plots. So a lot of companies and a lot of individuals and holiday goers which utilize all these spaces for their team bondings, for recreational activities, for picnics, and all of that. So, because the focus from day one was sustainability, the entire system is interconnected. And apart from this estate, this one, Lakwe Lakes, was designed again, like I said, with sustainability at the heart of it. All the other estates that we have also have unique features that integrate one level of sustainability or the other. We have Beechwood Park and we have Adiva as well. Beechwood Park is a compact estate and it encourages the way it's designed. You can walk around the entire estate. You don't need to drive everywhere. Yes, it has roads and all of that, but it's a very walkable estate because of the way it's laid out. And then Adiva playing fields has a central lake. Please, can everyone see this picture?
Yes,
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just want to make sure I haven't lost you guys again.
Yes.
So, yeah. So the picture you're seeing here is of Adiva. Adiva is similar to Beechwood, but it's much larger. It has about 2,000 plots in it. And one of its key features is that it has a centralized lake, which has part of it has a recreational area and all of that. So all of it, that entire lake area, sort of connects the entire community together. And they make use of it, or they have the potential to make use of it for recreational activities and all of that. So moving on to the key principles of designing shared spaces. So number one is accessibility and inclusivity. It's important to ensure that every single space that is designed caters for every single person and that people have access to it. So this is from creating pathways, wayfinding markers, things to be able to direct people within the space, and creating pathways and ramps that are essentially easy to navigate for whoever it is, for children, for disabled, because disabled access is very important now, because one of the guiding principles for sustainable design is that to ensure that every single person or everybody can make use of a space, whether it's within a building, whether it's outside. So universal design principles is another thing I spoke about, ramps, wide pathways. All of those things are things that in the design of different parts of the Lakwe Lakes Golf Estate, a lot of these things were considered. We have a lot of pathways that are convenient for people. So in some places, you have people, 3, 4 people can walk on the same pathway at the same time. So it's important that those principles are taken into consideration while you think about designing for open and green spaces. So using nature as a foundational element, green spaces are used as community anchors. It's important to note that as much as a lot of people, and especially in this part of the world, we look at having green spaces as a waste of space. But the truth of the matter is that we all know from um, our lectures in school, from practice, that the less green you have, the hotter it gets. And the hotter it gets, the more power you consume to power ACs. Depending, especially if you're in this part of the world, tropics, you you spend more money. And referring to our speaker of last week, Sheon, the fact that now in Nigeria we have increased, or the government has increased tariffs and all of that. The more green spaces you have, the less energy you spend. The less energy you spend, the less money you spend. So at the end of the day, a lot of things revolve around having open spaces and how important they are, especially green open spaces. So you can incorporate water features. Not every estate will be like where Beachwood, for example, has no water bodies whatsoever. So it just has more green areas. So encourage biodiversity and use native planting as much as possible. It's easier to grow native plants in the environment that they thrive than importing plants that we consider better and all of that. So the more native species you use, the better for the environment that it finds itself in and all. So flexibility and multifunctionality of shared space design. You create versatile spaces. So like I said earlier, you can use your shared spaces for different things, events, games, as long as it's flexible. Uh, it makes for continuous use, and people can find different uses for set spaces. So create youth-friendly amenities, and these are typically playgrounds, play areas for children to be able to exercise. We all know, for those of us who have children, we know how energetic children are. Then sustainability and low maintenance design. One of the things that I've done within the Gulf estates is change the species of grass in certain areas to shade grass, which is more water friendly. Um, it adapts easily, and during dry season, it doesn't turn completely brown. So it's important to ensure that you're looking at the entire space or spaces holistically and ensuring that you use materials that are eco-friendly, you use brick where possible, you use irrigation systems that conserve water. For for example, again using Laco lakes, we the 14 lakes also serve as irrigation water sources for the entire state. So they have multi-purpose uses, and again, that sort of encourages sustainability in the long run. So, what is our role as landscape architects? It's essentially pretty much in line with the key principles. We should employ the green as in green infrastructure as the backbone of community design. So what that means is that you integrate as much as possible natural areas. If they don't exist, create them, because the green spaces, open spaces serve a purpose. Like I said, the lakes, and I didn't talk about the swales. The Lakwi Lake Estate has a couple of swales as well. These swales act also as catchment for rainwater and direct them to the different lakes that we have. So it's important to think about all those things
Again, apologies for this break in transmission. I'll get that call back on very, very quickly.
It's frustrating, I'm sure, for all of us.
It's understandable. I mean, we're in a country where half the time we don't have light. So, and I hope that everybody in the audience too also understands. Thank you.
All right, so I got caught off again. Anyway, like I was saying, we get caught up in the aesthetics, and sometimes we don't balance out functionality of spaces. But it's important to strike a balance between the two. So lighting and safety is important. We need to think about how we light up these spaces at night, so that even at certain times of the day, these spaces can be used. So adaptive play for all ages. I spoke about universal design principles earlier. And then I spoke about biodiversity and ecological resilience. So I'm just trying to go quickly so that we don't get caught off again. So what are the social economic values of shared spaces in real estate development? For one, you increase property value. We have learned, especially with estates like Adiva and Lakwe Lakes, we have learned that the more green, the one of the key drivers of people to the estate is the fact that it is completely green. And a lot of people, especially people between the ages of 40 and above, key into it because it's relaxing. I mean, the air in the Gulf estate is fresh. That's not to say that we don't have fresh air in other parts of Lagos, but I mean, it's the green plays a significant role, and almost at all times of the year, it is cool, uh, regardless of the time of the year. So increased property values and the ability to demand higher prices for the kind of properties that we have. Social and cultural values. So the shared spaces foster a strong sense of belonging and identity among residents. And this in turn creates a community where people are invested in the environment and in one another's well-being. So for Lakwe Lakes, one of the cultural features, and I invite everyone at some point to try and come and see how Lakwe looks. It's one of the things I would say that is a cultural value, using Lakwe as the example, is that we have a lot of artwork stationed in different places, and this is just a reflection of the golf course and the hospitality part of the estate. And then, especially when you use efficient maintenance strategies, you are able to reduce costs along in the long run. Like I spoke about the changing of grass within the estate, that over time reduces the amount of irrigation water that one needs, which in turn reduces energy consumption. And in the long run, it saves naira and copper. So one of the other ones that I didn't put in this is positive neighborhood impact and marketability of the entire estate. That sort of ties in with the increased property values. So in summary, the design of shared spaces in residential development is more than just an architectural or landscaping pursuit. It's a commitment to fostering environments where people can truly thrive. And when shared spaces are thoroughly and thoughtfully designed, they become the heart of the community. And this creates connections, encourages wellness, uh, creating an inclusive atmosphere that is welcoming to all residents. So in developments like the new Lagos New Town, these spaces across all the estates embody a vision of sustainability and unity. So the integration of both natural and built environment has created a vibrant, or should I say, a vibrant community. So moving forward, a lot of the principles that have been applied in Lagos Newtown, especially with the Lakwe Golf Estate, can help inspire similar developments. And I know that a couple of other people have taken pointers from Lakwe Lakes. You have Alaro City, and you have Isimi. These are developments that are happening around Ekpe and Greater Lekki. And they've taken a lot of what we've done and they've modeled their own estates after that. So at the end of the day, it's important to create these spaces, and these spaces serve as the glue and the cohesive units between the residents, the estate in general, and the natural environment. So I'll leave you with another quote from one of my favorite landscape architects. My work has always been rooted in the belief that public spaces are essential to the life in urban environments. And these places give people a sense of belonging and invite them to explore, play, and reflect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dapo, for your presentation. And I think that for me, again, also as a landscape architect, is that, some of these principles that you talked about, I wanted to actually mention one thing that struck me, about the lakes that you talked about. And I know that it is rooted in the principle of the Oxbow Lake. I don't know if some of us know what an Oxbow Lake is. Basically, it's a still water that that's it's a natural occurring force that basically holds water, so it prevents flooding in so many of these areas where we have rivers and where we have oceans. So one very important example is along the Ekpe routes on the side of the on the side of the Atlantic Ocean. You find some of all these villages that are dotted along the Atlantic Ocean. They always all have a small oxbow lake, basically, that helps with managing flooding, especially during the rainy season. So at this point, I'm going to also if we would like to take some questions, take some comments, please raise your hand or you can unmute your mic to speak. Thank you very much.
Hello?
Yes, hello. We can hear you. Yes, hello. We can hear you.
Hello?
Really,
Hello?
hey,
Hello?
really
Hello?
interesting to how you put all this together. I had a question regarding I know you mentioned something about local trees. I want to know how easy sourcing local trees or local plants.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
My question about the sourcing. How easy or how hard was it to source local trees or local plants that are used, indigenous, let's say, indigenous plants or.
Okay, so so to answer your question, first of all, you need to sort of do the just general research. A lot of Nigerian plants are online, but if you know where you're working, for example, I'll use Lakwe Lakes since I'm very familiar with it. Lakwe Lakes has a lot of palm trees. So once you're in that particular environment, you know that one of the natural things that you just need to identify the kind of palm trees that they are. But Lakwe in itself has a lot of palm trees and mangrove type kind of plants. And then you can also ensure that you're using plants that as close or for example, hibiscus, which can be found pretty much everywhere, but there are different types of hibiscus. So it's easy to source once you are able to identify the plants yourself, because unfortunately we don't have proper nurseries that will tell you that this plant grows in so place. So the onus falls on you as the designer or the whoever it is that is working on.
Thank you very much, Dapo. I hope that answers your question. So we have Shitu that has raised his hand. Please, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Dapo, for the wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me as well?
Okay, your voice is really, really low. If you can.
Hear me?
Yes, okay, now it's
Yeah,
better.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You said you can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dapo, for the wonderful presentation once again.
Thanks.
Towards the end of the presentation, you offered that we can come to the Lakwe Lake for sightseeing, and also I want to know, sir, if probably on Saturdays you are always available.
Not available there on Saturdays, actually. I have
Okay.
to, because during the week I work here and I go home to my family on weekends.
Okay. All right. Any of the day during the week, if I want to come, so to say, I will let you know, sir. Because
Not a problem.
I
It's
would
fine.
like to come for that sightseeing.
No, it's all right. It's fine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
Toby,
you.
thank you for the moderation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shitu. If there's anybody else that has any questions or comments, please you can add them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and unmute your mic to ask.
Sorry, I just wanted to did Bolade get all I said before I got cut off again?
I think, sorry, I think where I heard you up to was we have well, they don't have the information, so you have to essentially know what you're looking for and research it yourself. That's where
Okay, I had pretty much I think I'd ended it at that point before I got cut off. So, but if you have any, I mean, you can always reach out to me.
Yes, so Dapo, you can share your contact details in the chat if you're comfortable with that, or you can reach out to me to get details. Yes. I don't know if we have any other person with questions or comments, and I think that for me as a landscape architect, it's really important for us to keep talking about this work that we do. This year alone, Lagos has been at its hottest ever since 1979, and we've had on an average 87 hot days since the beginning of this year. So what that means and what that is telling us is that we do need to plant more trees, especially more trees that sequester carbon. And I think that talking about the work that we do as landscape architects and the shared spaces in community, these community spaces that we have in residential new towns is very, very important to making sure that we get Lagos less hot than what it has been earlier this year. Yeah, so is there anybody else that has any comments or questions for Dapo right now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes, okay.
Okay, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Architect Ifeanyi Enichukwu. I really want to commend Dapo for the presentation. Though I did my master's in landscape architecture at University of Lagos, so that's the reason why I'm part of this group. But where I lecture now is at Alex Kweme Federal University. It's in Ebonyi State. So, and I think we'll borrow a leaf from what Dapo has done and also extend it towards this part so that all our drums will be heard from all corners and all zones of the Federation. And there is that saying that if you've not actually said, I'm here, nobody will know that you are there. So Dapo, kudos to you. And the moderator, you also did a very good work. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much, architects. If I so I do have a question for Dapo right now. So you mentioned, you talked about maintenance strategies, and I know that one of the big things is water, and you talked about using shade grass. I also wanted to ask if maybe you can share one or two other type of maintenance strategies that you use because I know that one big issue, especially with clients, is how do you manage these gardens and these open spaces that you have? So if they are going to have to spend extra money to manage it, they would be very iffy about doing it. So I just wanted to ask if you have, you can add one or two other maintenance strategies that you use to manage these shared spaces.
Okay, so there's something that we haven't done yet, but it's in the works, and that's using. Although one of our residents has done it in Beechwood Park, that's using sawdust as mulch to cover the soil. Yeah. So that when you use that, sawdust chippings, wood chips, and all, it's interesting that they use it in other parts of the world. Yeah? If you use it in your garden, one of the things that you create, the first thing you do is you retain water in the soil. Now you know that water in the soil is important for the plants, meaning that in the long run, as you have retained water, you don't need to water as much. That's two. And three, as the wood chips break down, they build the soil. The soil in this Lekki area in general, so that's across all our estates, is very poor. So we have to import a lot of topsoils from parts of the estates that have decent ground cover. And the topsoil that we have here is just about 150 to 200 marks. And then what you have after that is sand. So that idea, and we have a lot of dead branches, dead trees within the estate. That idea of having mulch and wood chip as a covering is very important as a maintenance strategy. While we haven't implemented it because of a number of factors, it's also something to think about because it's something we're thinking about. And you can do this on a large scale. You can do this on a very small scale in a tiny garden. So it's one of the other strategies that can be used.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Dapo. Yes, that's
you're welcome.
answered my question, and it really helps, with getting more information, because again, well, it's very important that we share our knowledge across board and with each other. So is there anybody else that has any other question or comment at this time?
Yeah, I do have a comment. Regarding, obviously you guys have a large open space where you can plant a bunch of trees and but within regular spaces, so within Lagos where buildings are closer together, where land is maybe a lot more expensive, how do you think people can maybe have more trees, like street trees, for example? A lot of trees in Lagos, they get cut down because maybe they're obstructing the power line, or they plant palm trees in the middle of the median. I don't know if it's easier to just do that. Is there something that maybe, are there species of trees that maybe don't cause as much damage that can be used within more built up areas. So, and that way people will be comfortable, planting trees. I think a lot of people are afraid of planting trees in their, small
building.
yeah, because they're afraid of damage to
so
by roots,
building.
their buildings and stuff like that. So I don't know if you can share or if there's any kind of, thing you can share.
Okay, so Volody, to answer your question, this is a question I get asked a lot here. So there are trees that have, almost all palm trees have taproot systems, and taproots are fantastic in that they don't affect buildings in general. Yes, every tree has the potential to damage a building if it's too close. So you typically need to give at the very least 1 to 1.5 meters away from the building. And that is when you're using trees that have taproots. Another tree you can use is the Ashoka tree. I don't know if we're all familiar with that. Ashoka tree is a masquerade tree. It also has roots that are not as damaging to structures, and you can plant them close together. Interesting enough, a lot of people use them as sort of like a hedge barrier. For example, I stayed in a hotel in Abuja, and they how they used, or what they used to protect their building from the neighbors, because they were sort of like in a residential area, was the Ashoka tree, planted close together, planted less, about 300 away from the fence. And the fence, these trees were fully mature, and not a single fence was cracked. So it's possible to have trees. Another strategy to increase green spaces within built-up areas is to make use of spaces on your building. If you have the possibility, or you design your building from.
Okay, Dapo has gotten cut off again. Again, apologies. Dapo, are you back? Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I guess while we wait for Dapo to finish answering this question, and we are trying to basically round up. I think that again, for me, answering this Baladi's question is I think this is an avenue also for us as landscape architects to really dig deep into doing research and making sure that we are able to give you like a laundry list of different types of trees that can be used. Dapo, are you back?
I'm back.
Yes,
Sorry.
great. I was trying
Yeah.
to
So
what? Yes.
so but just like I was saying, it's possible to have trees within even in tight spaces that will not affect or will not create structural damage to the buildings that you have. A lot of people just don't understand trees, and another reason why we as landscape architects even need to advocate for our profession as a whole, because a lot of us who have the skills, have the knowledge to be able to implement this. So we are an important member of the construction team, regardless of what a lot of people think. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that happens a lot is that people say, "Is it not just trees? Is it not just grass?" There's a science to it. There's an art to it. There is structure to it. I mean, for example, when I'm putting in documents for our developments here, I say things like you install so tree at so height and all that, so that they understand that as much as it is a natural element, it is also also a construction element. So I hope that has answered your question.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can I add to what that was said now?
Yes, please.
Okay. About selection of trees. Our brother asked about along the median. So having some trees and close to some buildings, and some clients being scared of the roots of the trees damaging the foundation, possibly that have a fibrous rooting system. So their roots don't spread so much. It is spongy. So the root tends to bind the earth around that zone. If it comes across any structural element, it just gets aligned with that structural element without tearing it apart. Now, there are some trees that even if you plant it like 5 meters away from your building, you see the roots inside the internal spaces of your building, like trees like we call Delonis regia, the one that always has red flowers. People call it flamboyant also. So such trees. And again, maybe in the curriculum development of landscape architecture, we'll have to bring in some maybe experts in horticulture or agronomy, so that some behaviors of trees will also be studied in such areas, so that if somebody is proposing plant materials for the clients, you will be able to state specifically the pattern and the ways the trees will behave when they must have matured. Then there is what also that was said. He cited a hotel in Abuja where they planted closely the masquerade tree. There is a name he called it, masquerade tree. There's one professionally is called something longifolia. So those trees, when you plant them close, they will tend to have what we call etiolation, as in all of them will like strive to get light. So they will be forced to be growing tall, and not having the spread. And the more the canopy of the tree is spread, that is the naturally, if the leaves, only the roots will tend to spread so as to balance up that upper growth so that it wouldn't fall. So, but this aspect of curriculum review or having some additions to what a landscape architect should learn before he becomes a landscape architect, so that in that area, we'll have in-depth studies on plants, since most of the things we are clamoring for now is the use of plants and the ways they should be arranged and where they should be placed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, architect. Dapo, so I think that does anybody else have any comments or questions now at this moment? Okay, so if we don't have any comments or questions, I'm going to just invite Dapo to just quickly share. So again, I think to remind us, the reason that we're doing these webinars basically is to focus on the practice of landscape architecture. And it's not just about also talking, it's also about what are the key next steps as landscape architects and, you know, adjacent professions. What is a call to action, basically? What are we expected to do, you know, going forward? We're going to be sharing the ones that we talked about at Sheon's webinar 2 weeks ago, and then also sharing from Dapo. So I would just want to invite Dapo very quickly to share one or two call to action takeaways that we expect us as landscape architects and also even as humans basically to take away from and to continue doing.
Okay, so one of the things that we need to do in our design, and because design becomes implemented over time, so we need to be able to be adaptable. And in being adaptable, we also create resilience in our design. So when you look at a space now, you need to look at it not with the eyes of, okay, we're looking at it at in 1 year or 3 years. We need to be able to look at it, that same space, what's going to happen to it in 5 years, in 20 years, because for us, I mean, a lot of us here, we know where we were 20 years ago, and we know how much has sort of changed and improved in our lives or not improved in our lives. So it's important that whenever we're taking up a task as landscape architects, in the design of landscape elements within the built and natural environments, we need to be able to ensure that our designs adapt or are adaptable, our designs are resilient, and that we always refer to sustainability as a starting point. It's easy to forget that in the pursuit of trying to make a living or trying to please your clients, in the case of some of us that are in private practice, are just in general trying to sort of take the easy part. It's not always the best way. So key takeaways, adaptability, resilience, and sustainability as a core starting point for everything that we're doing as landscape architects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dapo, for your insights. And thank you everyone for your participation and insights. Basically, designing for communities goes beyond constructing buildings. It's also about cultivating spaces for people to feel connected, respected, and at home. So we'd like us to continue this conversation outside of this place. And I will also want to invite us for our next webinar, which is going to be taking place in the next 2 weeks, November 13th. Wale Ogunsajo, which I think is on the call here today, will be talking to us about Nigeria's tourism landscapes. And I believe that that's going to be an interesting one and very insightful. I will share details of that in the coming days. And this conversation is going to also be shared on YouTube for us if we want to go back to what we talked about. And also, thank you very much to Umar Gardens and to Architecture and Urbanism of University of Lagos for sponsoring this webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening.